Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's our chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have distinguished guests. First of all, we have the president of Canadian Chess Federation, Vlad Drkulits. Welcome to the show, Vlad.
Thank
Great to see
you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Vlad. Also, we have our regular contributor, International Master of Chess and Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on. Welcome from my mother's apartment in New Jersey.
Great to have you in your mother's apartment on that sunny day. And also we have a very strong correspondence player. Dan, welcome to the show. Dan Fleetwood, thank you for attending our show. Great to see you.
Thank you.
And what I would like to start with, of course, with Vlad Drkulits, because something unreal happening in Canada in very few days, something that never happened before. And I'm in Canada since 1975, and magnitude of this event is very difficult to compare to with anything, whatever happened in Canada before. I'm talking about candidates tournaments, both men and women, held in Toronto, starting on, I think, opening on the 3rd of April, and first round is on the 4th. Now, this is an incredible undertaking, which became possible through cooperation and work together of World Chess Federation, FIDE, and Canadian Chess Federation, headed by Vlad for many, many years. Vlad, it's your podium. Please address really what's happened. There are so many difficulties with visas, with organizing, how all that actually happened.
Okay. Well, I'm nominally a member of the organizing committee. I am not actively involved in any of the organization, aside from the fact that I was held in reserve in case there was difficulty with visas. Because initially, when I was first told about the possibility of this tournament by FIDE president Arkady Dvorkovich, I warned him that the visas would be a problem, because they're always a problem. And I've come back to that several times, and then finally, I think in January, I was asking, well, what's the progress of the visas, because we're getting pretty close. And they told me we only have one visa out of 46. And then we mobilized all our resources to try and resolve that problem. And I was almost in constant contact with FIDE every day. Like, I did write the invitation letters and letters indicating how important that tournament was to Canada for every one of the players, every one of the officials. But I only really got actively involved in trying to solve the visa issue pretty late in the process. And I think with about a week to go before they did their tweet, which was directed to the Canadian government, then we were given a deadline, and then we really started working hard on getting to the decision makers who could approve those visas. So Patricia Gamaliel, our member of the board of directors, was so important in this process. Without her, I don't think we would have succeeded. And there were a lot of other people that contributed to the critical path that allowed this to reach a successful conclusion. And I think one of the things was getting articles into the Toronto Star, which is a very well-read newspaper, and also getting on CBC national news to basically highlight the situation. And we probably involved a dozen or more members of parliament. And anyway, everything came together and we were successful. So
Vlad,
it's
really great. You see, if tournament would be held in the United States, it would be very easy to cross border from Mexico to US and play tournament and then leave. so there would be no visa problems. But you see, Canada doesn't have that natural entrance, except you have to cross it either from Alaska or from the United States or from oceans, and that's not desirable situation. So I guess I'm glad that it's all really water. Vlad, at what point you felt that yes, you've succeeded with visas?
Probably 2 days before the FIDE deadline, because that morning we got like 30 visas, and it was a little bit worrisome because CBC wouldn't talk to me without me releasing more information, and FIDE didn't want me to release the information because at one point it was all the players from Russia which were not didn't have visas, and they were the only ones that didn't have visas. And if you don't give them a story, they're not going to put you on a national stage. But it all worked out. I think they got the visas the next day, and the only frustrating thing is that then some people on social media were blaming myself and Patricia for the whole debacle. But it wasn't anyone's fault, but some people need someone to blame, as Elvis Costello says. So.
Oh my God! It's real drama, because, as you say, 2 days before the deadline, you still didn't have visas for all the players.
That's correct.
That's mind-boggling.
But I had a good feeling that we would succeed, because the interesting thing in this whole situation is how deep the chess community reaches into all aspects of Canadian society, because we had kind of a back door even almost into the Prime Minister's office. And so I was told a day before it happened that we would get all the visas. So that made me feel better, but you don't know until you actually have it in your hands.
Especially with a deadline almost hours ahead.
And I think we're still outstanding 4 visas, 3 for accompanying persons, and I don't believe the president of FIDE yet has a visa. And it would be a shame if he wasn't able to attend.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if they have access to U.S., they can cross actually Rainbow Bridge. You can cross by foot, and
well, I don't think we're at the FIDE president crossing by foot.
That would be fine.
Yes, that would be.
Ken, have you ever crossed the Rainbow Bridge on your foot?
Actually, not by foot, although very significantly, I warned someone who did try to cross it by foot, because I ran an international conference in 1998 in Buffalo. But I had very prominently displayed, you need to get a separate visa for Canada if you want to go to the Canadian side on our free afternoons excursion to Niagara Falls. And a very famous quantum computer scientist tried, and then was thankfully turned back. He would have been able to enter Canada. He just would not have been able to re-enter the United States.
Ken, actually, a very funny story happened to me, and I think it was 1998 or maybe 1999. I had a visitor from Russia who came to Canada to visit me. He had the Canadian visa and so on. So we were in Niagara Falls, and I told him, look, if we will walk the bridge, we can cross to the United States, but I know that you don't have U.S. visa. So we will just go half the way, and whenever there will be U.S. Control, we will turn back. Okay, yeah, sure. We crossed half the way, turned back whenever the American control people appeared, and to our horror, we discovered that he had only one entry visa, which he could not enter second time. So now he's on a bridge. He cannot go to US, he cannot go to Canada, because he has no visas to both. Oh my God, what is horror? So I talked to Canadian officials or so on, and I explained situation that it was not his, it was my mistake because I didn't care to check whether he has multi-entry visa or single-entry visa or so on. So they said, okay, that's okay, yeah, okay, just go and run away. So I will not see you in the next 2 minutes. That's exactly what we did. Okay. Can I ask you how much you knew about all this drama with Canada
Oh,
and
I
visas?
followed it on social media like everyone else, but
Mm.
I read a few that said that once it was clear that people in Canada were getting responses, I was not worried in the last week.
Hmm.
You just have to wake up the bureaucracy, and once you have people from within saying how important this is, then I was pretty confident it would be resolved.
Ken, do you have some questions to Vlad about all this affair?
Not really, not more than I know. I know that I will be a guest of the candidates the
Mm.
weekend of 13, 14 April, my wife and I. So I'm very thankful for that.
Nice. So let me know, and we'll definitely meet around that
Yes,
time.
great to see you. Yep.
And Dan, what about you? Do you follow the story as well?
Uh,
I
I've
know
got to be I've got to be honest. I've been traveling so much that it surprised me that the candidates were going to be next month. So I've been preparing for my own travel to Canada, which will be in July. So we'll have
July.
a national conference there. So hopefully everything will go really smoothly for the candidates. I'm excited to see the games.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it will be. Of course, it is high-profile tournament, and I think games will be nothing but sensational. Especially thinking about the stars who are going to play in this tournament. There's probably only Carlson and Dean Lejeune are missing, but the caliber overall is second to none. I'm looking forward to myself. Ken, what latest games fascinated you? So we
Sure. Well, I've been, monitoring the America's Cup, and I want to show one game from the women's section. There's been a lot of enterprising chess, but I think a really notable game was classical game, played yesterday evening, in which the 14-year-old, the young prodigy, Alice Lee, even the score against Irina Krush. So one thing I have to say about this tournament has a double elimination format.
Okay.
So what happens is you play a normal knockout in the top section, but losers of the knockout go down to a second section where they play rapid and blitz tiebreakers. And the winner of the lower section then gets a second chance against the winner of the grand bracket. So Irina Krush and Alice Lee played the final of the maybe semifinal. I have to look of the winners bracket. That dropped Alice Lee down, but she won the lower section. So she came up and played a match under the winners bracket conditions, meaning involving classical chess, and defeated Irina Krush in one rapid and one classical game. And now that means that they are both in the losers bracket, you have one loss. So now they're playing the final of the whole event under the rapid rules.
Basically, loser takes it all. There are no winners, there are only losers.
Well, it's great. Everyone has lost somewhere. Everyone got dinged except Levon Aronian.
Yeah.
Levon Aronian won his second match.
So the ultimate final on the ladies' side is today, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But it's under the losers bracket rules, so it's 4 games of rapid and blitz if necessary.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But the decisive classical game yesterday, I'll present. It was a very combative game with an interesting point, and I was following the broadcast at the for the last part of the game. And they were arguing about whether Irina Krush could erect a fortress or not. So this is very interesting for endgame theory. And I have to say, very mature play by Alice Lee to calculate that, in fact, black would not have a fortress. So Arena crushes black, Alice Lee is white, and the game becomes combative at move 2, a Benoni defense.
Huh. Son of Sorrow.
So, yep. And also Arena Crush plays the closed version of the Benoni rather than play d6 and e6 and trade pawns to get a half-open e-file. So this is okay because white has a pawn on c4. If white didn't have a pawn on c4, if the pawn were on e4 instead, this would be, I think, is regarded as bad for black. But here, white cannot post a knight observing black's d pawn. So this is just a very strategic game. I'm maybe a little surprised by knight d7. I would stick the knight on a6 to c7 in a position like this and play for b5. But
wait a sec. What is knight e2? Why not to play f4 and knight f3 and a little bit more direct?
Yeah, f4 makes the knight on d7 suddenly have a lot of point. It's coming to e5.
Yeah, but after bishop f4, then knight f3, I think white can challenge black on e5.
Yeah, maybe. And d6 then becomes weaker. But anyway, now this is chess from another planet. I would not, in my youth, have felt that black could afford a move like that. But the center's closed, gain space on the king side. Here now I really do worry about white playing f4, f5, and pronging black's pawns. But here we go. We drive the knight back. And now black plays to h6, not to g7, which is a dead-end square. So, in fact, this exchange favors black if black can keep control of the dark squares. But white has a much better development, obviously a lot to say about that. And white spends her better development on a really slashing, forward-going, attacking move, attacking the center with all verve. No, white plays a3. Now Arena is able to castle by hand. You want to keep the rook on h8, guarding the h-pawn. So there we go. Now black is castled. White still has a nice advantage. And the fact that white castled, I really don't know what a3 was for. It's not like black was going to put a piece on b4, but we'll see. Now, g3. So chess.com has this annoying habit of putting question marks on moves that really are not blunders. I mean, what is chess.com wants white to play king c2 with a 0.55 advantage. Okay, I guess a 0.7 swing is the threshold for putting that question mark on. Okay, so I guess probably a sensible annotator would say wrong idea. So let's ask our panel. Do you think white's plan, obviously, of contesting the dark squares is a poor idea here?
I think that the position is equal. I would play this position for black, but it's me. Otherwise, I really don't see a clear plan for white to improve position. I really don't.
Yeah, king c2 wouldn't be the first, second, or third move that I looked at here, but I wouldn't want to give black the chance to exchange pieces in this kind of a position. Now, I guess black could also play h3, and maybe white was trying to tempt that.
Yeah, by playing g3 first. I don't know. Well, black certainly wouldn't exchange because then white would have two rooks that could get to the king side against black's only one. So
Right.
maybe that's part of the logic. Here I have to say one very funny thing is that if you don't play king c2, the computer being used here, I guess it's Stockfish, wants white to play a4, undoing
Oh gosh,
a3. I once did that. I played
prophylaxis.
I once played a dual simultaneous exhibition with Michael Rode where we were playing 50 people, but there were two of us rotating. And Michael played h3. And then when it came to that position, I played h4 to go for an attack. And he gave me a very funny look when he got to the board next time. But I just hadn't realized that he had played h3. So anyway, however, white plays g3. Okay, so now black plays a6. Black thinking of counterplay, I guess, and here comes white in the center. And the fact that black played a6 rather than a move like queen e7 that would be shoring up the center meant that black wasn't too worried about this. And now white makes a good move, I guess. Although, I don't know.
It was at least necessary.
Yes, that's right. It certainly was. White had to cover f2. So there wasn't a particular cleverness to it. Okay, I mean, and besides, it's obviously consequent. White wants to put pressure on the F file, but meanwhile, black is unrolling. Okay, well, except that the natural unrolling move is not liked by the computer. The computer wants black to invade by knight h2. Wow, you really have to calculate that, because you could have knights on h2 and g4 that just get isolated from the rest of the position. So I mean, how does one assess this kind of position? I don't know. Anyway, okay. That's a variation. So let's go back to the game. This is where it gets very combative. So black doesn't strike. Black plays simply the most natural move in the world, and the computer doesn't like it. Now white plays f5, which is the idea that I had when black had a pawn on h5. It certainly is trying to cut off black's army. It's not furthering conquest of the dark squares, though. So I don't know. Computer doesn't like it. Computer doesn't like that move either, but it's
totally natural. What
Yes.
did the computer want there instead?
The computer wanted black to invade by knight h2. Apparently,
oh my goodness, it loves that. That seems, I guess, some kind of like a. So if the knights are, I don't know what they're doing other than maybe keeping white from expanding further.
Yeah, or black can maybe double on the h file behind the knight on h2 and take it over.
Yeah, that's interesting. That would certainly be, that would have been original and unusual play. But when you play the Benoni, you have to be prepared to do things that are a little bit unorthodox sometimes. But certainly, if you're playing a Benoni and a6 and rook b8 and bishop to d7 are not good moves, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's certainly right. Now white plays a4, and the computer really doesn't like that one because now Irina Krush sees her chance. Yep. And comes in with knight h2. Oh. Okay. And now the point where we can, now it was actually not best to go to f3 right away, but you could see f3 is coming into d4, a really crunchy square for a knight if she wants to do that. So, okay. So anyway, I mean, the move that the computer wants to make is to pile the other knight into g4 first, but Irina did it in this order. She fell back to c1, so now here are the knights arrayed, and black does have an advantage in this position. But on the other hand, so now what do you think the computer wanted black to do? Establish this strong beachhead for a knight on h2. I mean, a knight on the grim is grim. Has anyone ever used a knight on h2 as a battering ram? That would be very unusual.
Yeah. But which one? Which knight? F or G?
The knight f h2. Actually, so
exactly. This one. Yeah, because for white it would be very difficult to attack g4 knight. And yes. In the meantime, like Karpov did 50 some years ago, he put in Ruy Lopez bishop on a7, and then he doubled his rooks on a using bishop as a cover. So black could do more or less the same in this game.
Right, I remember that game. Yeah. Yes. Ruy Lopez masterpiece. Was it Ruy Lopez or Knight or Sicilian?
No, Ruy Lopez.
Ruy Lopez, yeah. No. So that's what Irina should have done, and black has a nice vise-like grip. Okay, so now after this, it's even again. White is able to get rid of one of those knights, and now we can see this suddenly is a very normal-looking game of chess. Black isn't worse, but you still have to play more moves. And white drove black back. So now white actually has a threat in this position, g5, and it's time for black to batten down the hatches. So now we get the outlines of the fortress mentality that's going to dominate this game. Black still has maybe the better prospects on the H file. It's really a good question, depending on how White would want to play. But White has the better prospects on the queen side because Black's queen is not able to help over there right now. So, and White has better.
Why not rook h4 and then queen h6?
Exactly. That is, well, actually, rook h2 or rook h4.
Yeah,
they're both good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
Right. That's clearly what Black should have played. Keep the queen on f6, and White does have a latent threat of b4, but okay. I mean, Black can also play a5 and b6, and then the only problem is that maybe White would play the queen to b3 and attack something. But okay, here we go. Black now playing with all logic here after gearing up for an attack on the H file, now comes through with a mistimed attack on the queen side. This only helps White. So from this point on, actually, so here already, the computer is saying that White has suddenly gotten a significant advantage. So here it's saying half pawn advantage to Black, but now advantage to White because White can open the queen side, and playing b5 simply was not the way to react. And meanwhile, Black is about to be stuffed on the king side. Knight h5 check is a possible move, and Black's queen rook are completely bottled up. But first, White is able to attack there. So now, Black's king runs to the rescue, shoring up g6, and now here is where Irina realized that. Let's see, why exactly can't Black play queen g7 here?
Because pawn takes b5 and
pawn takes b5. It's just a free.
And it's
Yeah. So Irina sacrificed, and here is the point where I came into the game, and this is where Alice Lee made a very mature decision. So the choices are king c2. But then allowing Black to play b4 or b takes c4 and not face a passed pawn. But Alice Lee, after thinking for quite a while, calculated that Black cannot stop this pawn.
Well, the pawn is stronger than the bishop. Yeah.
And that the resulting position will not be a fortress. This is what
you have to give up your rook for a pawn, not bishop.
Right.
Rook.
So White loses the e pawn. So that's the whole question here is can White win this game? And as it stands, it looks like White's king cannot enter the position. Okay, because Black's bishop on d7 guards a4 and b4 is blocked, b5 is blocked.
Yeah, and it appears like a fortress, but remember what Magnus Carlsen said? He does not believe in fortresses.
Right, and that was stated during the broadcast by Yasser Seirawan and Anastasia Karlovich.
Absolutely.
So here we go. White sets about demolishing the fortress right away. Now there is no more guard of the b4 square, and White's king is going to come up. And in fact, Black does not have maneuvering room. If Black could get the knight to d7 and the bishop on e8, then there might be hope in this position of just holding on. Black cannot get the knight to d7. So the ultimate flaw here is that Black cannot control the d8 square forever. So we'll see how White takes advantage of that. Okay, so this is the first position where Black has to make a concession.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't move the knight. You let's see, can you move the king?
Maybe.
What about to give up the pawn e5, e4, queen takes, knight e5? It will lose eventually, but just anything loses.
Yeah, anything loses. Yeah, White is just able to attack too much stuff. So here we go. So now So this is where Arena played E4 in desperation. White comes and collects the pawn. There's
Oh, okay. So she played it anyway.
yeah.
Just a couple moves later.
Okay. And now, however, though, this is a the final key juncture where, and it's a shame in a way that she had to lose the e pawn, because we'll see the fact that Black's e pawn is gone is the watershed in the final moves by Alice Lee, which is to take this.
Oh, sure.
And then after knight takes, king takes, there's no pawn on e5 to race and make a queen, and White is going to win the
Yeah,
deep.
this is just over.
So Arena resigned. Yes. So
Yeah, fantastic game. Yes, I saw it yesterday while it was played, and it's quite fascinating thing, of course. Now, before we finish, I would like to address another thing is that there is a renaissance of chess in Canada due to, of course, a fantastic job what Vlad is doing for many years, but also because of this candidates tournament, and there is upcoming chess zonal tournament championship Canadian, where registered so far, the last I saw it was 60 people in open section, presumably most men, and 50 players in the women's section, which probably even 15 players would be a record. I don't remember when there would be 50, and probably more, because there are still a couple of weeks left before the tournament or so.
So,
How would you address that?
Queen's Gambit effect.
Yeah, and streamers.
Yeah. Do you think if there would be a movie, A King's Gambit, do you think a lot of more men players would be attracted to the game?
Yeah, boring.
yeah, the Botez sisters are Canadian. So yes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, looking
They are
forward.
playing in Reykjavik, where by the way, there's a lot of interesting women's chess in Reykjavik. I could have mentioned too. Yeah.
That's right, absolutely. Maybe we'll look at a couple of games next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I would like to thank you all for today's program. It's very exciting, and looking forward to upcoming tournaments in Canada in next few weeks. Thank you very much, everybody, and
Thank
hope
you again.
to see you all
Yes,
next.
congratulations, Vladimir. Yep. So
Yeah, that's a wonderful achievement.
yeah,
Great, well done. Hope
But it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people working
Sure.
that's right.
no doubts about
Yeah,
that.
whole federation. Yes.
But to coordinate all that and get results, positive results, of course, with that. So hopefully to see you next week, same place, same time. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Is there an excursion for the eclipse, by the way, down to Niagara on the rest day?
Yeah, when is that?
The April 8th. The total.
Don't forget, on April 8th, what I noticed, there will be a Blitz tournament. And there are some candidates who are going to play in this Blitz tournament. But it's in the evening, 8 o'clock. So
In the evening, sure. After they come back, if they
all day.
have to go down to St. Catharines to see Totality. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, we can get out of the links, and Mark will close the program. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.